At first, it was a flicker, something subtle, like heat distortion bending the morning light. Then the distortion widened, stretching across the horizon, swallowing blue. People paused mid-step, squinting upward. Traffic slowed. A few seconds passed, quiet and uncertain. Then the shadows came. Vast shapes materialized overhead, not descending, not moving, simply appearing, as if space itself had decided to hold something enormous. They were too large to comprehend at once. Curved structures layered over one another, surfaces gleaming with a metallic sheen that shifted colors as the sunlight struck it. No visible engines. No sound. Just presence. Phones began to buzz. Screens flickered. Satellite feeds cut in and out before stabilizing, revealing the same impossible image from orbit. Dozens of ships, each kilometers long, arranged in precise formation around Earth. Not drifting. Not orbiting in any known pattern. Holding position. Within minutes, every network on the planet carried the same feed. News anchors stumbled through half-formed explanations. Experts argued in real time, their voices tight, their eyes drawn again and again to the sky behind them. Military channels were worse. Targeting systems offline. Sir, our radar can't resolve their mass properly. Try optical confirmation. We did. It doesn't match anything. It's inconsistent. In a hardened command bunker beneath Colorado, Colonel Marcus Hale watched the feed in silence. The room buzzed with motion. Officers moved between consoles, issuing rapid commands, requesting data that didn't exist. Screens filled with telemetry, projections, red warnings stacking over one another. Someone swore under their breath. Hale didn't move. He stood at the back of the room, arms folded, gaze fixed on the largest ship, a dark crescent stretching across the curve of Earth, blotting out entire regions beneath it. He tracked the edges of its hull, the smooth lines broken only by faint, pulsing lights. No weapons visible. That didn't mean anything. Colonel. He turned slightly. Captain Reyes approached, tablet in hand, her expression tight. We've lost control of 2 satellite arrays. They didn't destroy them. They just took over. Hale nodded once. Demonstration. Reyes hesitated. Sir? They're showing us they can. Without firing a shot. He shifted his attention back to the screen. They want compliance, not a fight. A sharp tone cut through the room. Every screen went black. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. No data. No signal. Just silence. Then the image returned, not the ships, not Earth, but something else entirely. A figure. Tall. Angular. Its body encased in layered armor that seemed grown rather than built, plates overlapping in organic patterns. Its face, if it was a face, was narrow, elongated, with 2 deep-set eyes that glowed faintly, like embers behind glass. It looked directly forward. At them. The signal didn't come through speakers. It vibrated through the air, low and resonant, the words translated instantly, perfectly. You are now within the protection of the Velkarn Dominion. The room went still. Your species is assessed as non-competitive. Your defenses are inadequate. Your continued existence is conditional. The figure shifted slightly, and the background behind it changed. Worlds. Dozens of them. Some intact, gleaming with artificial structures. Others shattered, their surfaces scarred, atmospheres stripped away. One burned, its continents fractured, oceans boiling into space. Submit tribute. Accept integration. You will be preserved. The glow in its eyes intensified. Resist, and be removed. The feed cut. Sound rushed back into the bunker all at once. Voices overlapped, urgent, disbelieving. Did we record that? Global transmission confirmed, every channel. Get me a translation verification. Hale didn't join them. He exhaled slowly, once, then turned toward the exit. Colonel? Reyes called after him. They'll convene the council, he said without stopping. We're already late. The United Earth Council chamber had never been designed for silence, but it held one now. Representatives filled the seats, faces pale under harsh lighting. Some whispered to aides. Others stared at the central display, replaying the transmission on a loop. The image of the Velkarn figure hovered above the floor, its presence dominating the room even in silence. Hale stood near the back, hands clasped behind him, watching. "We have no confirmed countermeasures," a European delegate was saying. "Our most advanced systems were bypassed in seconds. We cannot engage them directly." A man across the table shook his head. "Engagement isn't the point. They're offering terms." "Terms?" another snapped. "That's occupation. It's survival." The word lingered. Survival. Hale stepped forward. "Submission isn't survival," he said. The room shifted. Eyes turned. A council member frowned. "Colonel Hale, you were not granted. They don't need to kill us." Hale continued, voice steady. "They take what they want, leave us just functional enough to serve. Resources. Labor. Control." He gestured toward the display. "They've done it before. We don't know that." "We do," Hale said. "Those weren't threats. They were examples." A murmur spread. The European delegate leaned forward. "And your alternative is what, exactly? War? Against that?" Hale met his gaze. "Yes." A ripple of disbelief. "That's not strategy," someone said. "That's suicide." Hale's expression didn't change. "No. Suicide is assuming they'll honor any agreement we make." A woman at the center of the table spoke, her voice measured. "Even if you're right, Colonel, we lack the capability. Our weapons are ineffective. Our defenses are irrelevant." Hale cut in. "We don't fight them head on." Silence again. "Then how?" she asked. Hale's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "We stop being predictable." Before anyone could respond, an aide rushed in, pale. "They're requesting a reply." All attention snapped to him. "Direct channel," the aide continued. "They're waiting." The chamber erupted into overlapping voices. "We need time. Draft something. Offer negotiation. No sudden moves." Hale turned toward the exit. "Colonel," the woman called. "Where are you going?" "To answer them." "You don't have authority." He didn't stop. The communications room was smaller, quieter. A single console dominated the space, linked directly to the alien signal. Two operators stood aside, uncertain. "Patch me through," Hale said. They hesitated. "Now." One of them swallowed and nodded, fingers moving across the panel. The screen flickered. The Velkarn figure returned, unchanged, waiting. For a moment neither side spoke. Hale stepped closer, leaning slightly toward the camera. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't hesitate. "We'll kill you, idiots." The operators froze. On the screen, the alien didn't react. Not immediately. The glow in its eyes dimmed, just a fraction, as if recalibrating. Then the feed cut. Hale straightened, exhaling once. Behind him, one of the operators found his voice. "Sir, you just started the war," Hale said. Alarms began to sound, distant at first, then rising. Rhea's voice came through his earpiece. "Colonel, multiple contacts breaking formation. They're deploying." Hale glanced at the blank screen, then turned for the door. "Good," he said. Outside, the sky was already shifting. "They're angry." No thunder. No streaks of fire tearing across the sky. Just a shift in orbit, subtle, almost graceful, like predators adjusting their angle before the lunge. In the command bunker, the main display tracked the movement in cold precision. 3 Velkarn vessels detached from the formation, sliding out from the shadow of the flagship. Their trajectories converged toward North America, descending at a controlled, deliberate pace. "They're committing a limited force," Reyes said, eyes locked on the data stream. "No heavy deployment. Just enough to make a point." Hale stood behind her, watching the projected vectors. "They still think this is a demonstration." Sir? Another officer cut in. Should we scramble interceptors? No. Hale's voice was flat. We don't meet them head on. A few heads turned. The instinct to engage was hardwired, especially with something that large approaching. They're entering atmosphere in 4 minutes, Reyes added. Hale nodded once. Initiate Phase 1. The room hesitated. Do it, he repeated. Commands rippled outward. High above the Pacific, the first Velkarn ship pierced the upper atmosphere without resistance. Its hull shimmered as friction met whatever field protected it, the surrounding air bending rather than burning. It descended in silence, its presence warping the clouds around it. Inside, the command deck was calm. General Threxcale stood at the center, tall and unmoving, his gaze fixed on the forward display. Earth spread beneath them, vast and blue, broken only by the thin lines of human construction. Surface defenses? He asked. Non-responsive, an officer replied. Their targeting systems remain inactive. Threxcale inclined his head slightly. As expected. Another officer shifted, reviewing incoming data. No coordinated response detected. Scattered signals only. They appear disorganized. A faint flicker of satisfaction passed through the general's expression. Fear, he said. They understand their position. He extended one clawed hand toward the display. Proceed with subjugation protocol. Disable key infrastructure. Minimal force. The officer bowed his head. Yes, General. Over the American Midwest, the sky darkened. The Velkarn ship descended lower, its silhouette growing until it consumed the horizon. Cities below fell into shadow, the light dimming as if the sun itself had been pushed aside. People watched from streets, rooftops, fields, frozen between awe and terror. Then something else appeared. At first, it looked like debris, small, scattered fragments drifting in the upper atmosphere. Metal scraps, broken satellites, remnants of old missions long forgotten. They moved against the wind. Inside the alien ship, sensors began to register anomalies. Unidentified objects approaching, an officer reported. Threxcale didn't look away from the display. Ignore them. They are not following ballistic trajectories. That caught his attention. Clarify. They are maneuvering. Before he could respond, the first explosion rippled across the ship's outer field. Not powerful enough to breach, but enough to register. Then another. And another. The debris wasn't debris. Drones, the officer said, a hint of confusion creeping into his voice. Primitive. Uncoordinated. The attacks intensified, not in strength, but in number. Dozens of small impacts struck the ship from all angles, each one insignificant alone, collectively disruptive. Shields holding, another officer confirmed. Threxcale watched the data stream, his eyes narrowing. Then why engage? The answer came seconds later. Across the ship's sensor grid, false readings began to bloom. Phantom targets appeared, vanished, reappeared in different positions. Signals overlapped, contradicted, multiplied. Sensor integrity compromised. An officer snapped. We're receiving conflicting data. Filter it. We are attempting to, General. It's recursive. The ship's targeting systems flickered, locking onto one phantom after another, wasting cycles, recalibrating endlessly. Outside, the drones shifted patterns. They weren't attacking anymore. They were distracting. In the bunker, Hale watched the feed without expression. They've taken the bait, Reyes said. Not yet, Hale replied. They're still trying to understand it. On the display, the alien ship adjusted its orientation, trying to stabilize its targeting systems. Its movements slowed, hesitation creeping into what had been flawless precision. No, Hale said. Reyes didn't need clarification. Execute Phase 2. Hidden beneath the planes, buried deep within reinforced silos, systems that had never been publicly acknowledged came online. Not missiles. Not in the traditional sense. Thin rods of dense alloy, accelerated to extreme velocities, launched in coordinated bursts. No explosive payload. No guidance systems broadcasting signals to intercept. Just mass and speed. From orbit, they were invisible. The first rod struck the Velkarn ship along its midsection. The impact didn't explode. It punched. A clean, brutal transfer of energy that rippled across the hull. The protective field absorbed most of it, but not all. The structure flexed, just enough to register. Inside, the deck shuddered. "Impact detected!" An officer called out. Threkscale's head snapped toward the damage readout. "Source? Unknown! No launch signature." Another strike hit, closer to the forward section. Then a third. The pattern wasn't random. It walked across the hull, each impact probing, testing, mapping the defenses. "They're targeting structural weak points," the officer said, disbelief creeping in. "But they shouldn't know." "They don't," Threkscale said, his voice tightening. "They're finding them." Another hit. Harder this time. A section of the outer plating buckled, not breached, but stressed beyond its design tolerance. "Shields are fluctuating," someone warned. "The interference." "Stabilize them," Threkscale snapped. But the drones were still there, swarming, flooding sensors with noise. The targeting systems couldn't distinguish real threats from false ones. The ship's defenses responded too slowly, misallocating power, reacting to ghosts. Another rod struck. This time, something cracked. A thin fracture spread across the hull, visible even on the external feed. For the first time, Threkscale felt it. Not fear. But something close. "Withdraw," he said. The bridge went still. "General?" the officer asked, uncertain. "You heard me," Threkscale replied, his tone sharp. "Pull back. Regroup." Reluctantly, the ship adjusted its trajectory, climbing away from the atmosphere. The drones followed for a moment, then scattered, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. The strike stopped. Silence returned. In the bunker, no one spoke as the alien ships retreated to orbit. The display confirmed it, 3 vessels pulling back, maintaining distance. Reyes exhaled slowly. "They're disengaging." Around her, tension broke. Quiet relief, disbelief, a few sharp laughs that died quickly in the air. "We did it," an officer said. "We actually." "No," Hale cut in. The room stilled. "They weren't trying to win," he said. "They were making a point." He nodded toward the screen. "So were we." Reyes glanced at him. "And?" Hale's gaze remained fixed on the distant shapes in orbit. "Now they know we can hurt them," he said. "Next time, they won't hold back." As if in response, a new signal flickered across the system. "Incoming. Direct." The Velkarn channel opened. Threkscale's image appeared again, but something had changed. The Velkarn did not strike immediately. For 2 hours, their fleet held position in orbit, motionless, silent, watching. On Earth, the pause felt worse than the attack. Cities braced for annihilation. Emergency broadcasts looped evacuation orders that had nowhere to send anyone. Power grids flickered under alien interference. Military networks stayed live, but strained, every system running at its limit. In the bunker, the tension was sharper, colder. "They're reorganizing," Reyes said, eyes tracking shifting signatures on the display. "Fleet spacing is changing. Tighter formations. They're reinforcing command nodes." Hale stood beside her, studying the new pattern. "They're adapting." "They lost one engagement," an officer said. "That doesn't mean." "It means they're learning," Hale cut in. "And they won't repeat the same mistake." On the main screen, the Velkarn flagship remained at the center of the formation, untouched, dominant. The smaller ships repositioned around it, tightening the defensive grid. "They're protecting something," Reyes murmured. "Not something," Hale said. "Someone." He turned from the display. "Bring up Project Boogeyman." The room went quiet. A few officers exchanged glances. The name carried weight, even here. "Sir," Reyes said carefully, "that program isn't Active? Hale finished. It is now. He stepped toward the central console, inputting a code manually. The system paused, then shifted. Classified markers vanished. New data replaced the standard tactical feeds, schematics, infiltration routes, neural interface diagrams. A different kind of war. This isn't about firepower, Hale said, addressing the room. We can't outgun them. We can't outmatch their tech. So we don't try. He tapped the screen. We go where they don't expect. Low Earth orbit. The Velkarn fleet maintained formation, every vessel linked through a shared network. Data flowed constantly between them, sensor readings, threat analysis, predictive modeling. Each ship functioned as part of a unified whole, its actions coordinated through central command. Inside the flagship, General Threxcale observed the data streams with measured focus. Human resistance has exceeded initial projections, an officer reported. Their tactics lack consistency. No repeatable pattern identified. Everything has a pattern, Threxcale replied. Not this, the officer said, hesitating. Their actions contradict optimal strategy. They sacrifice resources without clear gain. They are inefficient, Threxcale said, dismissing it. That is not unpredictability. It is weakness. He shifted his attention to the next phase of operations. Prepare full deployment. We end this. The officer inclined his head. And missed it. A fluctuation. Brief. Minor. A signal that shouldn't have been there. The insertion craft never appeared on standard sensors. It didn't need to. Its hull absorbed detection frequencies, its trajectory masked within the noise of debris and residual interference left over from the previous engagement. To the Velkarn systems, it was nothing, another fragment in an already cluttered field. Inside, 6 figures sat in silence. No wasted movement. No conversation. Each wore a suit designed for absence, light-absorbing surfaces, adaptive camouflage, neural-linked interfaces that fed real-time data directly into their vision. At the front, Hale stood, one hand resting against the bulkhead as the craft approached the target. 30 seconds. Rhea's voice came through the comm, steady but low. You're inside their blind zone. Hale nodded, though she couldn't see it. Copy. He glanced at the others. No words needed. They were already ready. The craft aligned with the flagship's hull, matching its velocity precisely. For a moment, they moved as one. Then the hull opened. Not with force, but with precision. A focus field cut through the outer layer, creating an entry point just large enough. Hale stepped forward. Go. Inside, the air felt wrong. Not thinner, not heavier, just different, carrying a faint metallic scent that didn't belong to any known atmosphere. The corridor stretched ahead, curved and seamless, the walls pulsing faintly with embedded light. No alarms. No immediate response. Hale moved first, his suit blending with the surroundings, his presence reduced to a distortion at the edge of perception. The others followed, spreading out, covering angles, mapping the interior as they advanced. Minimal traffic, one of them whispered. Either they're centralized, or they don't expect us here. Good, Hale said. Keep it that way. They reached the first junction. Hale paused, accessing the data feed. The suit's interface translated alien architecture into a usable map, approximating structure based on limited scans. Command core is 3 levels up, he said. We don't go there. A slight shift among the team. Then where? Someone asked. Hale's gaze flicked toward the deeper sections of the ship. We make them look over their shoulder first. The first system went offline without warning. On the flagship's bridge, an officer frowned at his console. Navigation relay is unresponsive. Restore it, Threxcale said. We are attempting to. The system is not receiving commands. Before the officer could continue, another alert triggered. Weapons Array 3 has lost synchronization. A third followed. Internal sensors are reporting movement in sealed sectors. Threxcale turned, his attention sharpening. Movement? No external breach detected, the officer said. But the readings are. The lights flickered. Just once. Then stabilized. Silence stretched across the bridge. Report, Threxcale demanded. The officer hesitated. They are inside. Hale watched the feed update in his vision. System disruptions spread across the ship, small failures cascading outward. Now they notice, he said. About time, one of the operatives replied. They moved again, faster now. Precision gave way to controlled aggression. Charges were placed at key nodes, not to destroy, but to disrupt. Power fluctuations. Data corruption. Misfires. Nothing catastrophic. Just enough. Signal injected, another voice said. Broadcasting. Across the Velkarn network, a new pattern emerged. False data. Phantom signatures. Ships detecting intruders where none existed. Systems responding to threats that weren't real. Commands contradicting each other. Confusion spread. On the bridge, officers struggled to maintain control. Multiple intrusions detected. Where? Everywhere. Threxcale's claws tightened against the console. Contain them, he ordered. We can't isolate their position, an officer said, his voice strained. They're not following a path. They appear, then vanish. Another flicker of the lights. Closer this time. For a fraction of a second, one of the officers thought he saw something behind him. A shadow where none should be. He turned. Nothing. General, he said, quieter now. We cannot predict their movement. Threxcale said nothing. But his gaze shifted, not to the displays, but to the empty spaces between them. Extraction window in 60 seconds. Rhea's voice came through. Hale checked the timer. Finish it. The last charge armed, syncing with the others. Not explosives. Not here. Disruption. A pulse. Ready, the team confirmed. Hale took one last look down the corridor. Silent again. As if they had never been there. Trigger. The pulse moved through the ship instantly. Systems failed, not permanently, but completely, for just a moment. Power dropped. Sensors blanked. Communications cut. Darkness. The Velkarn fleet did not hold formation anymore. From orbit, their once perfect alignment had fractured into tighter clusters, each vessel maintaining distance not just from Earth, but from each other. Defensive spacing. Redundant overlaps. Every ship watching every angle. And still, it wasn't enough. They're jittering, Reyes said, leaning over the tactical display. Micro-adjustments every few seconds. They're scanning continuously. Hale stood beside her, eyes fixed on the shifting icons. They're expecting us. They should, an officer muttered. Hale shook his head slightly. No. They're expecting something they can understand. He turned away from the screen. Time to end it. The room stilled. Reyes looked up. Sir, their fleet is still intact. We've hurt them, confused them, but we're not breaking the fleet, Hale said. We're breaking the command. He tapped the display. The flagship expanded, dominating the projection, larger than anything else in orbit, its presence anchoring the entire formation. Everything runs through that, he continued. Coordination, targeting, decision-making. Remove it. He let the thought finish itself. Reyes exhaled slowly. And how do you get close enough? Hale's gaze didn't leave the image. We invite them in. The signal went out an hour later. Not from a military channel. Not encrypted. Open. Weak. Human infrastructure broadcasts flickered, deliberately unstable. Power grids appeared to collapse. Defense networks dropped offline one by one. Satellite feeds degraded into static. To the Velkarn, it looked like failure. On the flagship, the change was immediate. Human systems are collapsing, an officer reported. Energy output declining across multiple regions. Defensive capability reduced by 70%. Threxcale studied the data in silence. Cause? He asked. Unknown. Possibly internal failure. Their systems may not sustain prolonged engagement. Another officer stepped forward. This may be their limit. A final attempt before submission. Threxcale considered that. The humans had been erratic, unpredictable, but even chaos had boundaries. Resources ran out. Systems broke. Species reached a point where resistance was no longer viable. Perhaps this was it. Advance, he ordered. The officers hesitated only a moment. General, proximity to the planet increases risk. They are weakening, Threxcale said, his voice cutting through the uncertainty. We end this now. The fleet shifted. This time, not cautiously. Decisively. In the bunker, the change registered instantly. They're moving, Reyes said. All units. Direct approach. Hale nodded once. They took it. You're sure this isn't too obvious? An officer asked. If they suspect. They don't, Hale replied. They can't. He stepped closer to the display, watching the flagship descend. They believe strength wins wars, he said. So they'll push until something breaks. Reyes glanced at him. And what breaks? Hale's expression hardened. They do. Execute Phase 4. The moment the Velkarn fleet crossed a certain threshold, everything changed. Hidden systems activated across the planet, deep installations, massed platforms, assets never meant to be seen. They came online in perfect synchronization, silent until the exact second they were needed. Then they struck. Not in a single wave. In layers. Kinetic rods launched from concealed silos, their trajectories intersecting the advancing ships from multiple angles. Electronic warfare flooded the Velkarn network, amplifying the false signals still embedded in their systems. Drone swarms surged upward, not as attackers, but as interference, thousands of moving targets overwhelming every sensor. The sky filled with chaos. Multiple impacts! A Velkarn officer shouted. Shields destabilizing. Return fire! Another snapped. But the targets weren't real. Weapons fired at phantoms. Defensive systems reacted to threats that vanished before impact. Power allocation faltered, shifting constantly, never settling. On the flagship, Threxcale watched the battle unfold, his jaw tightening. This is the same tactic, an officer said. They're repeating. No, Threxcale interrupted. His gaze tracked the patterns, the subtle differences beneath the surface. They've changed it. The interference wasn't identical. The timing varied. The angles shifted. Every response they had developed from the previous encounter failed to apply. General, another officer said, voice strained. We cannot isolate real targets. Their attacks are inconsistent. Threxcale's claws dug into the console. Inconsistent, he repeated. For the first time, the word felt wrong. No, Hale said. The insertion craft launched. Not one this time. 3. Each following a different vector, masked within the noise of battle. The Velkarn sensors, already overloaded, failed to register them as distinct threats. They slipped through the outer defenses, closing on the flagship. Inside the lead craft, Hale checked the timer. 30 seconds. Rhea's voice came through. Their systems are saturated. This is your window. Hale nodded. Make it count, she added. He didn't respond. The hull aligned. The breach opened. Move. The flagship's interior was not quiet this time. Alarms echoed through the corridors. Lights pulsed in harsh sequences. Velkarn soldiers moved in coordinated units, weapons ready, scanning for threats they couldn't see. Hale's team moved through them. Not unseen. Unnoticed. Their suits distorted their outlines, blending motion with shadow, reducing visibility to something the alien perception struggled to process. A figure at the edge of sight. A flicker that didn't register as a target. Until it was too late. One soldier paused, head tilting slightly. Movement! The word cut off. His body dropped without sound. The team didn't slow. Command Corps ahead, Hale said, his voice steady. They reached the final barrier. This one wasn't subtle. A sealed bulkhead, reinforced, guarded. Hale didn't hesitate. Charges! They placed them in silence. Synced. Armed. 3, 2, 1. The door collapsed inward. The bridge turned as one. Weapons raised. Orders shouted. Too late. Hale stepped through the smoke, rifle steady, the rest of the team fanning out behind him. Stand down! An officer barked. Hale didn't. The first shot dropped him. Chaos erupted. Velkarn's soldiers fired their shots precise, but aimed at targets that were already moving, already gone. Hale's team flowed through the space, controlled, efficient. And then it was over. Silence returned. Bodies on the floor. Smoke hanging in the air. At the center of it, Threxcale stood unmoving. Hale approached. They faced each other across the distance. You, Threxcale said, his voice low, controlled. You lead them. Hale stopped a few steps away. Yeah. The general studied him, his gaze sharp, searching. You fight without order, he said. Without logic. Hale shrugged slightly. Works. You waste resources. You contradict your own strategies. You win? Hale suggested. A pause. Threxcale's eyes narrowed. What are you? Hale met his gaze, calm, steady. The thing you didn't plan for. He took another step forward. The thing you can't predict. Threxcale's grip tightened on his weapon, but he didn't fire. For the first time, hesitation crept in. Hale saw it. And smiled, just slightly. Back home, he said. We have a word for that. He raised his rifle. Boogeyman. The shot echoed once. The fleet broke. Without the flagship, coordination collapsed instantly.